I'm scaring you?
Maybe a little. Holy crap! Brian!
Hello, welcome to How To Automotive. In today's project, we're working on Project Blue Z. Blue Z here badly is in need of a set of struts on this vehicle. When I'm driving this thing, it plows when you turn, it bounces down the freeway. So we definitely need to get a set of struts on these. I'm going to show you step by step how I do this. And we're also doing this in preparation of a car show that I'm attending this weekend. It's called the Big SoCal Euro Car Show in Irwindale, California. So if you guys are around there or out there, make sure you say hi. I'll be there with Blue Z there. So come with me. We're going to get these struts knocked out. So the first thing we did was jack the vehicle up. Use jack stands on the jacking points. Now we're going to bust the tires off. So as you can see, these struts are possibly OE. If not, they've been on there for a long time. This car is 23 years old. So the first thing I'm going to do is the brake sensor and ABS harness, and the brake line is mounted in these little rubber grommets on the back side of the strut. So I'm just going to work those off. Get those out like that. And also right here in the front there's a clip. I'm going to open that up and pull the wires out, get the slack on it. So these just pop out of the little slots in the back. Just as you saw there, I just used my fingers, pop them out. Now on the back side here, there's going to be 2 bolts coming this way. I'll get you a close-up on that. And after that, there's going to be 3 bolts on the top. So here's the one on the top of the strut spindle, and then the 2 bolts there and there. I'm just going to use a flex head ratchet and an 18mm to get to these. Crack these free. I've already loosened it up once. So you're just going to take those off. You can use power tools if you like, such as a ratchet like this. This is the new Milwaukee Insider ratchet with their pass-through socket design. Just came out on the market. I have a full video on this on the channel. I'll link it up in the description. Or you can just use hand tools like this. Setup is pretty simple. It's an 18mm socket, and then I have an 18mm wrench on the other side. Just take the bolt out. Once you get the bolts out, you can just gently rock the spindle here and let it rotate down just like this. But try not to put too much slack or tension on it, but I'm just letting it hang right here. The ball joint right there is holding most of the weight, so it's not really putting too much pressure on it. So this is free now. So now we're just going to remove the 3 bolts here. Do not take the center bolt out. Whatever you do, just take the 3 out here. Now, if you feel like there's too much tension on this brake hose and it's doing harm to it, you can just take the caliper off and swing it off, and you can tie it up over here somewhere or hang it on the suspension parts. But I don't think there's much tension on it, so I'm okay with it. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave that there. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the new Insider ratchet here and go ahead and remove it. Okay, this is the last one. So now I'm going to loosen this up here, but I'm going to go underneath here and hold the strut by my hand. Go ahead and take it off. Now I can go ahead and just lower the strut, work around the cables here. Let's see if I can get this out. Alright, so there's not enough room to work it out with the cables here, so I'm going to open the little door on the inside here and unplug the 2 sensors here. This one looks like it's been broken and somebody's taped it. And this one is the brake pad lining. That is the ABS one there. The brake pad one here has been taped. So I'm going to get that. Alright, so I got the wires out of the way, so now I can get the whole strut assembly out like this. Now I'm going to do the exact same process for the opposite side here. I'll spare you that, but I'll show you how we swap out the springs and both out. As you can see, the right one here, you can see all the oil built up on it. It's all blown out. This is all oil from it leaking. Also, you can see that there's no bump stops. The boot inside here is just mangled. This one here is completely missing. Actually, here it is right here. But there's supposed to be a little foam pad in here. to prevent it from bottoming out completely. It's what they call bump stop. Anyways, that's completely missing, so I'm gonna have to get that as well. I did order the new bearing strut tops here for both sides, new struts, and I'm gonna pick up the bump stop. So I threw the struts in my car and drove them down to the shop because I had the spring compressor there. I'm installing Bilstein struts. Here are the part numbers for the left and right, and I also got the bearing strut tops here. I'll put the links and part numbers in the description of the video. I also picked up a set of KYB bump stops for these. So here at the shop, we use a wall-mounted spring compressor. This is probably one of the safest ones out there. I just rigged it up in here, press the spring. It has a screw top on the top. It rotates the spring down. Took the old strut off. Swapped over all the rubber pads and necessary parts from the old strut to the new strut, and then put the new bearing plate on, stabbed the new strut through, and started the nut. Tighten up the bolt with my impact gun here until it ran in, until it snugged up. Now you just make sure that the spring is lined up with the perch on the bottom of the strut, and you can release the pressure from the spring. If you don't have access to a spring compressor at your house, you could take the strut off, take it down to a shop and have them swap this part over, and then take it back to the vehicle and install the strut back in. It still save you a lot of money. So there is a little alignment mark on mine here, and there's a little hole right here. I'm going to line it up with that. It really doesn't really matter. It doesn't appear to have any different patterns, but I'm just going to do that just because there's a mark there and there's a mark here on my new bearing cap. So I'm going to slide it in here, and when I do, at the same time, I'm going to use my knee, and I'm going to float the rotor and the caliper here, kind of hold everything in position. So as you'll see, I'll get this strut assembly in here, up in the pocket here. Now I'm going to look over the top, and I'm going to put the studs through, and then start the 3 nuts by hand on top right here. So I'm using my knee here to kind of float everything. Reaching over the top, and then start the bolts. Now we're going to line the portion of the spindle here through the portion of the strut here, so it's going to slide in. And then if you notice right here, there's a hole right here on the spindle. There's another dowel that has to line up with the dowel on there, and then the bolt holes will line up everywhere. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and just wiggle it in like that. Now that I got that started, I'm going to go ahead and put the bolt here through. And you may have to lift up on the bottom of the strut, wiggle it a little bit, and once you get it through, go ahead and start the nut. We're going to leave this loose for right now. Everything's loose, as you can see. Now, to get that dowel to line up, I'll show you here. I'm pulling off the stand. I'll show you. So as you can see, the dowel is right there. We need to get that lined up. So I left everything loose so I can wiggle it left, right, up, down. On the other side, I had to put the floor jack here. So I had to put the floor jack under the ball joint and give it a little pump, like a 1/4 inch, to get it to align, and then the bolts here, I was able to start the bolts. We're going to put thread locker on these bolts. As you can see, I already had it on there when it came off. So we're going to put some thread locker on these bolts, and then we'll be able to go from the back side and get these started. So as you can see right here, it's a little cocked, and that means I need to put a little pressure on the ball joint and jack the suspension up just a little bit to help line everything up. I'll put a little bit of thread locker on the threads here, just a little bit. You don't have to put a lot, especially since it's already had a lot on there. It was really difficult to come out. Now I got the floor jack underneath the ball joint. Make sure you don't pinch the backing plate here. And now I'm gonna reach around the back and adjust the jack up or down, left or right, and get these bolts started. Once they get started, then the dowel pin, you'll be able to tighten up a little bit here on this side, and then tighten up a little bit on the opposite side, and work your way back and forth, and that'll suck everything in nice and smooth, and the dowel pin will go right in there. That keeps everything aligned. Now you can use a torque wrench, set the proper torque all the bolts so they're torqued. Now I'm going to torque the bolts coming from the back side this way. These on here. Make sure those are torqued. Once you got these both torqued, then we'll switch over here and you'll have to use a wrench. And we'll torque this one last. Torque that one. Now that everything's torqued, now you can go ahead and put the brake line grommet back into the holder here. Just pop it into place. Now you can take the brake and ABS, and I believe the ABS one here, route it around like this, in the holder this way. And the same thing with this one here. No, this one. Maybe it did. Let's see. Yep. It did route this way. Pop that in, and then the little clip here, screw that back in on the strut. And then go ahead and clip this back in. Like so. If this is missing, I would zip tie these wires on here. Now you can go ahead and plug these back into the box and seal the box up. Now you can lower the vehicle down and torque the wheel to the proper torque.
Come here, girl.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
Come to the back.
Go ahead, be gone with it.
VIP.
Go ahead.
The steering stiffer. When you brake, it doesn't like nose dive on you, which is great. Yeah, big difference. So right here, you want it to plow and go off straight off the road.
Okay, easy does it.
I'm scaring you.
Maybe a little. Holy crap.